Hey there, Saki here from Saki Tech, and in today's video, we will be doing a full comparison of the iPad Pro 9.7 inches, which was released in March 2016, versus the new iPad Pro 10.5 inches, which was released in June 2017. So it's been a little over a year, and we have a successor. And of course, with the release of any new successor, questions arise, and people are asking, shall I upgrade from my iPad Pro 9.7 inch to the new iPad Pro 10.5 inch? Or how much better is the new iPad Pro 10.5 than the older one? Is it worth the upgrade? And so on and so forth. Now in this video, we will do a deep dive and tackle those questions directly. So at the end of this video, you will know whether you should upgrade to the newer iPad Pro or just keep the old one, or make the proper choice between buying the two if you are in the market for an iPad Pro. Also, see the links in the description box below to get the lowest prices around for both the iPad Pro 9.7 and iPad Pro 10.5. First and foremost, let's quickly skim over everything that has not changed too much, and then I'll dive into some noteworthy changes which might persuade existing 9.7 inch owners to consider an upgrade to the 10.5 inch or anyone else who is wondering as to what's new. Let's start with the build and design. So both tablets are constructed out of aluminum and are encased in a smooth and gorgeous unibody aluminum finish. They both sport lightning ports on the bottom and headphone jacks on the top, and offer 4 high-quality stereo speakers that produce rich and loud stereo. Both tablets have the smart connector that allow you to connect a smart keyboard as well as utilize an Apple Pencil if you wish to add sketching and writing capabilities to your iPad. So as you can see, they're pretty similar. However, things start to change slightly with the dimensions. The differences are in fact marginal, so this is not too important of a metric to worry about, but here are the dimensions just for your reference. The iPad 9.7 measures 240 millimeters in height, 169.5 millimeters wide, and 6.1 millimeters thick, and weighs 437 grams. The iPad Pro 10.5 measures 250.6 millimeters in height, 174.1 millimeters wide, and 6.1 millimeters thick, and weighs 469 grams. So like I said, the differences are in fact marginal. Let's talk about the software. So there's not much to say about the software. Both 9.7 Pro and 10.5 Pro run the latest version of iOS and have the exact same features as far as software functionality goes. You get access to a smooth and stable operating system as well as a rich app ecosystem. So we have talked about everything so far that is virtually the same, or it is marginally different, such as the dimensions. Now let's move on to the things that have seen an upgrade. In some cases, a significant upgrade. So let's start with the processor, memory, and storage. So the iPad Pro 10.5 now has a 30% faster processing performance and a 40% faster graphics performance than the iPad Pro 9.7 inch. The 10.5 inch has the new hexa-core A10X processor, 4 GB of RAM, and 64 GB of internal storage for the base model. The 9.7 Pro has a dual-core A9X processor, 2 GB of RAM, and 32 GB of internal storage for the base model. The increased base storage capacity is a highly welcome change. 64 gigs is twice as much as 32 gigs. And we all love media and apps, so the more the better. Also, looking at these Geekbench scores, we see that the 10.5 Pro has received a significant boost in power. It has scores that even beat some current gen laptop PCs running the latest processors. So for power users who use their iPad Pro for heavy-duty tasks such as video or photo editing, as well as running 3D rendering and graphics-intensive apps, will see a huge difference in speed. I don't expect to see much of an improvement in gaming capabilities just yet, because all graphically intensive games on the 9.7 already run at a stable and smooth 60 frames per second. Anyway, let's move on to the display. So the new iPad Pro has a larger 10.5 inch display with a screen resolution of 2224 by 1668 with a screen PPI of 264. The older iPad Pro has a 9.7 inch display with a screen resolution of 2048 by 1536 with a screen PPI of 264. So you get a larger screen with the new iPad Pro. So both of these screens are advanced screens with realistic color reproduction as well as sharp and bright displays. However, the iPad Pro 10.5 does everything we mentioned better, and on top of that has some new rock-solid features. Firstly, it is HDR capable, and secondly, it has a new 120 Hz screen refresh rate, which means that the screen refreshes 120 times within a second, a feature that translates into super smooth motion on the iPad no matter what you do, whether you're browsing the web, you're gaming, or watching a movie, or whatever. The difference that the 120 Hz produces is immediately visible, and it is not a gimmick. The iPad Pro 10.5 screen is also brighter than the iPad Pro 9.7 as well as less reflective. So display certainly has seen an upgrade and is a critical category in making a buying choice. Now let's talk about the camera, which is another significant upgrade. We have a new 12 megapixel f1.8 camera on the iPad Pro 10.5, which is the same camera found on the iPhone 7, one of the best smartphone cameras on the market today. The Pro 9.7 has a 12 megapixel f2.2 camera on board, which was the same camera as the iPhone 6s, but it's no way near as good as the iPhone 7's camera. A lot of people don't use cameras on their tablets, but if you do, then it's an important point to consider. This kind of photo and video quality on a tablet will blow you away. And I'll be honest, the only reason I did not ever use cameras on a tablet in the past is because they usually suck. But the iPad Pro might change that for me, especially for semi-professional work. Now the front cam updates to 7 megapixels as well from 5 megapixels on the older version. So we get a full upgrade on the front and the back. Let's move on to the fingerprints and security. So as for fingerprint sensors, we have another upgrade. Although both fingerprint readers work flawlessly, the iPad Pro 10.5 has a second generation Touch ID sensor that is slightly better than the first generation Touch ID sensor found on the iPad Pro 9.7. Regardless, they both work flawlessly, so it's not a big deal. Now moving on to the battery, we have pretty much the same exact battery life, which is rated at 10 hours for medium to heavy use, and my tests confirm that both of these tablets live up to this number. Alright, so looks like we have gone over just about everything, so let's draw a conclusion. First and foremost, here's a list of things that should not affect your buying decision. The design and build of the product, the speakers as they're both the same, rich and loud, the difference in dimensions which is negligible, and the software experience is identical. Also, you'll get the same battery life. Now let's take a look at what changes might play a role in upgrading. The new powerful processing and graphics performance with the A10X Fusion chip, which is especially relevant for power users for professionals who do use heavy-duty apps. The new and improved display, which offers HDR capabilities, 120 Hz refresh rate, as well as higher brightness and less reflection on the display. And finally, the rock-solid camera, which is the same world-class camera found in the iPhone 7. Now, it is clear that we have some upgrades, but it is essential to point out that the iPad Pro 9.7-inch model is still a powerhouse. It can still run just about everything you throw at it. If I was an average consumer, I would not upgrade to the iPad Pro 10.5-inch model. I would keep the iPad Pro 9.7, and if I was someone who is considering of buying an iPad Pro for the first time, I would buy the iPad Pro 9.7-inch model because you might be able to find some great deals for the iPad Pro 9.7 since it has been discontinued. You're not going to find it at apple.com, but it's going to be all over the place on Amazon, eBay, and other places. And the price is going to be very low in comparison to the iPad Pro 10.5. Alright, so who should upgrade? Only heavy-duty users. People that use the iPad Pro for video editing, photo editing, 3D rendering, as well as for high-level productivity and creativity. That's who should upgrade, because the extra power, the display, and the camera will offer a better toolset for professional work. And of course, if you're like me, if you are a tech junkie and just have to have the best of the best, you should upgrade as well, as long as you have the cash. Alright, so looks like that brings us to the end of this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just drop them down below. Let me know what decisions you made regarding the iPad Pro. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Saki Tech and give this video a thumbs up. And do not forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Saki Tech Online. Guys, have a fantastic day. Also, do not forget to check the links down below to buy the iPad Pros at the lowest possible prices. And I'm talking about either model, the 9.7 or the 10.5.